Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of Play Pause Turn. This show is a shorter episode. It involves myself, John, and Bobby. And we recorded live whilst visiting the BFI IMAX cinema in London, where we went to see Denis Villeneuve's new film, Dune. So you'll hear the audio quality change after this intro, because we recorded this whilst we were at the cinema, before and after, in fact. So what you'll hear is our very, very first thoughts and feelings about the film. We will be following this up in another podcast with the rest of the crew, but I hope you enjoy, and here you go.
So, Bobby, we are now recording.
Hello.
So, we're about to go in to see Dune, Denis Villeneuve's Dune. We're at the London IMAX. Mm-hmm. We're going to get more of the film than most people. You've never read the books or seen the 84 film, have you?
No, I flicked through the picture book at the library when I was about 7 years old, and I didn't like the look of it. It made me feel sick, so I never saw the film.
What made you feel sick? The costumes?
The evil person with all the blisters on his face.
That's actually interesting, because Amy reacted the same way in our Dune watch-along.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
So Frank Herbert is... the book was obviously written in 1965, and he's considered the Tolkien of sci-fi. Now, my concern for you, going in... And I know you're a Denis Villeneuve fan, is whether you think the story is or the narrative is too inscrutable. So that's what I'm looking to see what you think about afterwards. Whether you think the film itself makes sense going in. I'm going in looking forward to seeing Zendaya, obviously.
How old is she?
I don't care. She's lovely. When a friend of mine was at the premiere this week in Leicester Square. And apparently there were lots of sort of 16-year-old girls screaming, Chalamet, Chalamet. I've not really seen Timothée Chalamet in anything.
Everyone, we are ready for you.
We're going to have to
called in.
We're being called in. We'll have to stop here. Well, I'm interested to see what he's like as a Paul Atreides. Okay, we'll let you know more after the film.
By the way, our popcorns at Odeon are
Bloody massive.
Much better than they are at Bloody View, you stingy
They're bigger than your head.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
in we go.
Here we go. Okay, Bobby. So we're in the cinema now.
We are. And the film is starting in probably 5 minutes. We've got the trailers, which I love. Probably going to be my favourite part.
So, I think you've got to just appreciate the Villeneuve vistas. That's what I call them, the Villeneuve vistas. Mm-hmm. Having seen Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, what Villeneuve really excels at is setting the scene. And I think there's going to be a lot of world building in this one. But I'd be interested to see what you think. First of all, if you understand the film and understand what's going on.
God, there's so many stars in it. Javier
Bardem. You've got Javier Bardem, you've got Jason Momoa. I mean,
so basically, we're in the IMAX, and it's a massive screen.
The screen is
the picture
humongous.
Is amazing, and they've got
it's a laser projection. This one, so it's the highest quality.
Got, posters of every single actor flashing up, and then little quotes from the director, and it just all looks, oh my god, Rebecca Ferguson's in it.
Yeah, well, you can see also lit up behind the screen are speakers. They have speakers built in actually to the screen itself, as well as all the speakers around the cinema, because it's a Dolby experience as well. There's an advert for Eternals. We should come and see that as well, shouldn't we?
Definitely want to see that.
We're going to have to get out of the way, sorry. Hold on.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so
John's put his wine gums in the wrong place.
Oh, you never want to put the wine gums in the wrong place, do you, really? So, for me, half of the experience here is seeing how you react to the film. That's what I'm really excited about, actually.
I think I'm mainly just going to be in awe of the spectacle.
But I'm steeling myself for the fact it's not got an ending. It's going to be halfway through. That's what I'm really... You've got to be aware of that. It's not going to finish on a conclusion. Anyway, we're going to watch the film and we're going to feedback afterwards.
So, John and I have just come out of the screen at the BFI in London to see where we saw Dune, and broke our backs in the process.
So their seats weren't as comfortable as I'm used to, actually.
Yeah, they were not comfortable.
They were not recliners, were they? But amazing cinema.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. The screen, the audio, everything was absolutely. I think if you don't come to the BFI, go and see it on the biggest screen that you possibly can. It's definitely a film that deserves that. Visually, it was amazing.
I'm quite interested in finding out from you, Bobby, because let's talk about our heritage here. So I'm going to be a little bit biased on my opinion of this film, obviously, because I'm a big Herbert fan. I've read all the books. I've seen Lynch's film dozens of times. But I'd be interested to see how you, as a fresh pair of eyes, felt about the film. Please don't worry about hurting my feelings. I want you to be honest as possible. I find it really interesting to see a different point of view on this. What did you think overall?
Well, just in case, because I'm not sure where this will actually end up in the main podcast episode, but spoiler alert.
Oh yes.
And if you haven't seen the film, then switch off and go and watch it and then come back to us. So I think, as I said in our little preamble before we went into the screen, that I had no expectations whatsoever. Never been interested in the original, which came out around the same time as Return of the Jedi, so I was completely Star Wars invested and not interested in anything else. And I've come out of this, actually, I can't wait for part 2.
I'm quite relieved. The running time was long. It was just under 3 hours, I think, with the trailers and things beforehand. So it's quite a marathon, especially if you haven't got much leg room.
And you got someone kicking you in the back as well. So whoever was in
L30.
Whoever's in L30, if you're ever listening to this podcast, which you probably aren't, next time I see you, I'm going to kill you
with a Chris knife.
Yes.
I thought it was very much. It had Denis Villeneuve's fingerprints all over it. It's not a fast-paced film. This film, its pace is quite slow, but I think that's honouring the style of the story in the books. But it gives you time to take in just the design of the film, which is stunning.
Yeah.
And how they did this during the pandemic. Was it filmed during the pandemic?
I don't know. I'm definitely going to be looking that up ahead of recording our main episode.
I mean,
we'll have some facts for you.
I mean, there were definitely. I mean, there's a lot of characters wearing masks for the film. So towards the end of the film. So this film, which is part 1, and we went in knowing that. I think that's really important that you go into it knowing that, because it's not a complete story. It is kind of a lot of world building, I think. Now, inevitably, anybody who watches this who's seen the Lynch film will compare. And I was comparing this film, but I was also comparing it to the TV series that came out in the early 2000s with William Hurt as Duke Leto. And actually, the Denis Villeneuve film is more faithful to the TV series, which in itself was more faithful to the books. Lynch chopped off a lot of fat when he filmed his version of the film. But actually, I think, for the benefit of newcomers like Robbie here, I think this was a much better job of introducing the story. Now, there were very, if any, times where Bobby would turn to me and go, "Huh? What's going on?" Which is a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, very. I think they did a really, really good job with the world building, and I think the film, I have got no complaints about the runtime, because I think it needed to be that long. He really, really gave the characters a chance to breathe, to get you invested in them. I was very, very upset when certain people got offed, it was great. I mean, the fact that I could actually follow the plot and I knew exactly what was going on is again testament to just the great job that the script writers did and Denis Villeneuve did. His visual style is there through the whole thing. I mean, if you walked in and you didn't know what was showing and you just blinked for a second, if you caught some of the vistas over the sound dunes, you could have thought that you'd walked into Blade Runner 2049 or... I mean,
there was a certain amount of sort of foggy light, wasn't there? Which is quite a hallmark of Denis Villeneuve. But again, it was very appropriate. You're on a planet covered in sand and dust. And I thought that was really... I have a lot of ownership over the Lynch film. It's beloved of me, basically. but actually I felt like this was a Dune I could go on with. You know,
I be curious to know what you thought of the cast, because obviously there were one or two characters where they sort of changed the sex and all of that kind of stuff. So in comparison to the original version, what did you think of the cast characters?
Well, obviously the most obvious one is Liat Kynes, who is played by a female actor in this film. And again, right now we don't have
Alex here to fact check for us.
No, we don't have a cast list or IMDb page. We're sitting here with some Bakewell tarts, so
and a lemon drizzle.
So I think Oscar Isaac.
Poe Dameron.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac. I thought he was a very, very good Duke Leto. I think he definitely had the gravitas for that role. I tell you who I was most surprised by, that I thought was going to be a bit of a damp squib, was Timothée Chalamet, actually. I don't think I've seen a film with him in before.
I think I have. I think I've seen a Woody Allen film with him in.
Right.
But I don't know if I actually have, or if I'm just thinking he would be good in a Woody Allen film. I'm sure I've seen a Woody Allen film.
Was he in 50 Shades? Was that what he's become famous for?
No, 50 Shades of what?
Grey.
Oh.
Later on, I'd like you to tell me what you were thinking. I was thinking. I think he's also in the upcoming Wes Anderson film as well, the French Host, the French Dispatch as well.
Yeah,
the French Dispatch.
We're just looking up what else he's been in. Call Me by Your Name.
Oh yes,
Lady Bird,
yes.
Beautiful Boy, Little Women.
Yeah, he's actually got quite a good filmography actually.
A Rainy Day in New York. That's it. I've seen that. But I don't remember it. But it's a Woody Allen film.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen him.
The French Dispatch he's going to be in as well, which is a Wes Anderson film. I think it is. It's a Severelli there, but Timothée Chalamet I thought was very good actually, and there was one line in it. And obviously, Dune fans will know these lines. I mean, I was physically restraining myself from saying the lines before they said them because, again, a lot of the dialogue from the book was in the film, so I knew certain characters were going to get off, so I was waiting for that as well.
Is Dune to you what Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy, is to me, where nobody can watch the original Star Wars trilogy without me actually miming the entire script?
Yes. I mean, you have to remember that Dune was a massive influence to George Lucas. His idea of tattooing came from Arrakis. The Force came from The Voice. Because obviously he read the book in the early 60s when it was first published. And this is the challenge that Denis Villeneuve has, is that so many of the current sci-fi tropes in films that you see now come from Dune, the novel. And the danger is, of course, with this new film of being looking like you're a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Derivative. Despite that the actual film is based on the most, original material. I think he did a very good job, and I think one of the things that he was very careful about was not making it Star Wars. There was one scene in particular I thought I just had a little pang of oh my goodness me, and they play down the whole role of space travel in this completely. So in Star Wars there's a lot of exterior shots of spaceships and lots of flying through the stars. Now with this, the movement from one planet to the next was almost glossed over, wasn't it? You had the large...
Yeah, I mean, they had that kind of large sort of toilet roll thing that was outside the planet, and then all the ships came out of it. So I imagine that was like the warp drive or...
Yeah, well, in the novel, there's a lot more emphasis placed on the guild, the spacing guild, and the navigators, who consume the spice, and it mutates them, and they can fold space, essentially. That's how it's described in the books. With this one, it looked like they went through one end of this toilet roll from Caladan and came out the other end at Arrakis, and I quite like that because it made it very quick and almost kind of like this is normal.
Also, there wasn't. Yeah. I mean, they touched on the fact that the spice was used for interstellar travel.
Yeah,
and again, it's that whole thing about not insulting the audience by explaining too much. We know that they're going to have to use some sort of gate or interstellar style folding space to make 2 points closer together to get through, but you kind of figure that's what's got to happen. And I think also, anyone who goes into this movie who hasn't seen Star Wars, who hasn't seen any other movie about space and travel and so on, what the hell are you doing there in the first place, really? So yeah, there was no need for them to dwell on it at all.
I did think though that the way they portrayed space and the planets and the very brief glimpses of craft was almost like you were looking at an oil painting. The design it was utterly beautiful, but it was not. A lot of the craft, you couldn't really discern what they were. It was a lot of silhouettes and dark shadows. And again, I thought that was really clever. It's quite a dark film, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There were some sequences that actually, like when they get attacked, and that was all pretty much in the shadows and in the dark. Then it retains some of that kind of sort of realism there, and it actually draws you in even more, and the sense of peril is very heightened. I mean, you and I noticed you were doing it as well. We were sitting forward in our seats quite a lot. I mean, to be honest, an hour before the end, we were just shifting around.
So much pain.
We were in so much pain. It was unbelievable.
Yes, again, a very iconic scene in both the book, the films, the TV series was Lady Jessica and Paul running from a sandworm that discovers them after they've escaped the Harkonnens. And that was almost completely dark, but you believed it was happening at sort of in moonlight, and we were lucky to see it in a really good cinema, so we could see it. I think some cinemas might not handle that scene very well.
Yeah, I think also if you're gonna skip the cinema because you're still worried about COVID and so on, which we totally respect, it's fair enough. But it would just be a tragic shame. So put a still suit on.
Yep.
Protect yourself as much as you can and go see it on a big screen, or choose a screening where it's going to be very, very quiet. Like, go to sleep during the day and go at 1 a.m. or something. Like, honestly, I'm going to start enthusing more and more about this film the more it settles in, and I can't wait to see it again.
Yep.
Without, sort of the first time for me was like almost look of wonder and spectacle, but then at the same time I was fully engaged in the story as well.
That's
Anyway, it's got to be seen on the big screen. You cannot just wait for this to come out on telly, really.
I think the benefit of watching it at home will be maybe 4K HDR and seeing some of that detail. I think that's really important as well is that we all convince people to go and see it, because part of the intrigue of this film is, of course, as of yet, there is no sequel, and there's no sequel planned. And they're looking. I think Warner Brothers are looking very much at how it does at the cinema. Now,
so
we don't have Alex to do numbers here for us, but I got.
No, we have. So the box
Bobby
office as of today is $147 million. It's done, and it's been out since
22nd,
last Friday,
21st. Yeah, so that's not bad, is it? I mean, I think. What was the other big landmark film that came out? Its first day takings. Was it Bond?
It was Bond. So Bond. Let's have a quick look.
Do a little comparison, but I mean, let's say 150 million in 2 or 3 days. Considering that they're also showing it on HBO Max, which I think is just the States at the moment.
So No Time to Die. 525 million is the box office take to date.
Okay.
For No Time to Die.
Well, that's been out for about a month now, is it?
Yeah, I think if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I think that would have been
similar. Yeah,
I think it would have been in billion-dollar territory.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's very encouraging, but I think unless people go and see it now, and its first 3 weeks is the make or break period, we won't see a sequel now. If we don't see a sequel, I'm going to be extremely upset.
I'm going to be really pissed off. By the way, I just want to interject and just say this is Play Pause Turn history, because this is the first time 2 of us have actually been physically in the same space as each other recording.
Yeah.
Although Mark and I have obviously met before, and I've met Alex before, but yeah, this is the first time that John and I have actually met face to face.
Circle's complete.
Yes, the circle is complete. It also means he can molest me for real, not just down webcam anymore.
Well, I kept my hands to myself in the film, Bobby. Despite.
I was so disappointed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I could have done with a massage. 2 hours in. So yeah, this is, and you know, it's. We were very, very excited about it, and I'm very, very happy to be with John today for this monumental film.
Yeah. Now, this will come to VOD. This will come to Blu-ray and DVD. Obviously, I always need to ask people this: would you buy this when it comes out on VOD, DVD, Blu-ray? Would this a film you'd buy normally? Or are you going to wait until it gets onto the streaming services for free?
I think I would buy it on, but then I don't. I think I would end up buying it, but not watching it until I was able to see it on at least a 100-inch screen at home, on a projector or something.
I wonder, because I did this with Kill Bill. Because Kill Bill was originally filmed a 4-hour film, and then the producers didn't like the length and broke it to 2. I wonder if they will release both parts eventually,
like a mega cut of Dune.
Yeah, and I think that would be the way I'd like to see it and buy it. I have to make sure I had a masseur on hand for the bed pains, but we got to the stage. I mean, the end of the film. The film is written to kind of bookend the introduction of Paul into the Fremen. And actually, interestingly, when we sat down in the cinema, a lady came and sat next to us, obviously, and she asked, she knew we looked like Dune experts.
Well,
straight away.
I mean, you did. She completely ignored me.
Yeah. But she said, I'm reading the book. I've only read about 2/3 of the way in. Do you think this would be okay to watch this without spoilers? And I said, I don't know. I've not seen it, but I imagine, knowing the story, that once they get to the stage where Paul is in with the Fremen, that'll be where and it's exactly where they stopped it. Now, I think I'm trying to remember the comment you made at the end. Was it off goes Mr. Frodo and Bilbo into the distance? Because it's kind of it reminded me.
I didn't. I said now Zendaya's giving him the sexy look, giving the dirty look the whole way. Yeah. I mean, she wasn't really in it much. She was just in the dream sequences. But
Zendaya plays Chani, which you see a lot in, like you say, in Paul's visions, his spice visions. But she does feature a lot in the novel, so we'll see more of her if they make another film. We always have to say this because we don't know. Warner Brothers were dropping some rather interesting tweets over the last couple of days saying they're pretty certain that the second film will be optioned.
I'm just having a look to see if there's any news on that.
But it was a really, I think some people have complained about it's only half a film. I think they chose wisely to end it there, and it's a very upbeat ending, I think, in some respects. And the book does separate between the two stories of the Paul coming to Arrakis and finding his feet in the new order of the Harkonnens are no longer there, and him introducing himself to the Fremen. So I think the next film will work really well. Question is, and again, I've seen the TV series. There's a second TV series which is called Children of Dune. I won't go into too much depth of that, but there is actually several books in the Frank Herbert series, and I think his son wrote some as well after Frank Herbert's death. Would you be interested in seeing the story continue even after the end of Dune, or is it too early for you to tell, not knowing what's going on?
I think it's too early for me. Yeah. I think it's still not, the kind of thing that I feel like I'm going to get really in depth into, because I've been asking myself these questions. Would you go now and have a look at the TV series from the early 2000s? Would you go and watch the 1984 film? Would you read the original novel? That I might actually do.
Novel, yeah.
Yeah, but
it's been on sale for like 99p on Kindle for the last couple of weeks. It's a good time to buy it.
Carolina's read the book, so she was very disappointed when she found out I was going with John to see it today. So I am definitely going to be seeing this film this week. The first thing I need to do when I get home is actually pick a night and book tickets, so that she can go and see it. But I think I need to wait for part 2, and then.
I wouldn't watch the film and TV series, because I think that would be a weird situation for you to be in, really. Someone who's I've seen the original film at least 20 times, at least. I think for me it's fine, but I think for you, you'd appreciate it more holding back and waiting.
So I've just seen here that they have released it simultaneously on HBO Max for 1 month, and Denis Villeneuve is super pissed off about it, which I would be.
Yeah.
I think
I think they all are. I think all filmmakers are at the moment.
yeah, and obviously the studio Legendary are very disappointed with that move as well. And I agree with them that a film of this scope, I think they should have shown it in cinemas and given it a chance for 3 to 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and then maybe let it go on HBO Max. But
I think the situation in Europe is different to the States, though, Bobby. I think in the States, a lot less people are still going to cinemas. They're still worried about COVID.
yeah, actually, I've heard that there are curfews as well. Like
Yeah.
even in New York, and anyone listening from New York, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can kind of go out to restaurants and stuff, but at 10 o'clock everything kind of shuts down. So it's still kind of
So I think that's why they're recouping that loss. But I think what has been present in a lot of the marketing material is best seen at the cinema. Now, again, we'll go back to what we said at the beginning of this: is I wouldn't want to watch this film on streaming first, unless, like you say, you have your own home cinema or projector. 100-inch screen minimum for first viewing.
absolutely,
This
and
is a
you
film.
need an amazing sound
Yeah.
system. Like you need Dolby Atmos or some sort of Steinway and Lingdorf setup or whatever. But yeah, don't trash the. Don't. There was a very awkward plug for my podcast.
It's never awkward.
But
There's a scene in the film, isn't there, with the ornithopters. The ornithopters they look like dragonflies, and actually much more true to the description of the novels than you see in any of the films or TV series. They really made me happy because they're exactly as I imagined them.
do you mean they're those things like a much better version of an Imperial probe droid, the thing that goes and kills people?
No, that's the Hunter-Seeker.
Oh yeah.
The Hunter-Seeker was this drone that could assassinate people.
Sorry. So what are you talking
The
about?
ornithopters, the thopters, were the
Oh,
helicopters.
the helicopters.
But they're like
with the flappy
dragonflies.
wings.
Yeah.
Which
So
are
Frank-
totally unsuited for life in
Yeah,
the desert.
yeah, exactly. Too many moving parts, but in some respect that works though, because the presence of House Atreides, House Harkonnen, or Harkonnen as they keep saying in America, which I hated, but I could be wrong. It could be Harkonnen, but I'd always imagine it's Harkonnen. Anyway, I digress. The ornithopters, as you say, not being suited to the sand, it is totally appropriate to the story because they shouldn't be there. It's basically an empire. It's an imperial story, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And the fact that Leto comes to Arrakis to make peace with the Fremen is why it's such an important changeover for them. So I think those ornithopters were brilliant. But what I was going to go back and say about the sound systems was those ornithopters, the base of those things flying.
Yeah.
We could feel like the vibrations through our guts. Yeah, good impersonation, Bobby. So if you're watching at home, I don't think you'll get that appreciation. What did you think of Hans Zimmer's soundtrack?
It was great. I mean, look, Hans Zimmer's, I don't think he's ever done anything that was bad. I thought it was great. He actually, you told me before the movie started that he turned down Tenet.
Well, actually,
to do this.
I think that I mentioned that, but also what's really nice about the BFI IMAX, where we're recording this right now, is they have someone coming. One of the employees comes in, one of the tellers comes in, and she actually talks.
Oh no, she said that.
That was lovely, wasn't it? Though?
Yeah, that was really, really nice.
That's like you get the Everman cinemas. They're a bit more, of an experience.
Yeah.
So she came in and said, this is the best way to see it, and we hope you enjoy the amazing screen. But also, Denis Villeneuve, Hans Zimmer turned down doing the
Tenet.
soundtrack. Was it Tenet?
Tenet, yeah, because he normally works with Christopher Nolan.
That's right, yeah.
But he turned down Tenet to do Dune, which was filming at the same time, or in production at the same time.
Speaking of Tenet, there were just a couple of times in that film where I couldn't hear what was going on.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's
for
because
me, it didn't
wasn't as bad.
irritate.
No,
it
no,
didn't
not at all.
irritate me in any way. It was just kind of like it was what it was. Whereas something like Interstellar, was really super irritating.
American mumble, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's it. And even in Tenet as well. I mean, it's only now having watched it
with subtitles.
because I own it. Yeah, with subtitles that I actually get what the frick was going on in that bloody movie. But for this, it was very subtle and appropriate as well.
I think
it
the times,
didn't sound forced.
I think the times when it happened were generally during
the ornithopters going off.
Or Paul's visions, where you were meant to be kind of surrounded by these it was almost the sounds were there to disconcert you. So you felt like Paul, like what's going on? Trying to make sense of it.
I have to say, actually, the first full vision he had that went on for a little while, where he was kind of sat on the edge of the bed and his mum was leaning before him. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
When he started having that vision, I got so into it from his point of view that when it came out of the vision back into the room,
You were like,
I was exactly the same. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, that was a vision.
So it's
vision?
almost meditative, wasn't it? Really meditative.
Yeah.
Which is very clever.
Yeah, very, very well done, I have to say.
So the lady who introduced it in the BFI IMAX, one thing she did say is she thinks this will get some Oscars.
No?
I remember you were reacting the same way when she said it. She actually said this film's going to get a couple of Oscars.
Oh, yeah,
Do you remember?
yeah. Sorry.
I think design or cinematography will definitely be up in the running, and probably sound design as
I
well.
think sound it'll
Sound
definitely
design's
get
amazing.
I don't think there'll be any best acting Oscars for it.
No.
Can you think of?
I mean, the acting was solid. You know, there was no. Again, when you watch the TV series, there's one particular actor who plays Gurney, who cannot. Sadly, a very famous actor who's in Lock, Stock and other films later on in his life, but he's quite young in this. He cannot act for his life, and it's so grating. But here, I thought every character really fleshed out their role really well. Javier Bardem, which you don't see much of in this film, do you? I think he was definitely channeling a little bit of his inner Oliver Reed. What do you think?
Actually, yeah,
He looked
you're
exactly
right.
like Oliver Reed, didn't he?
Yeah, he did totally.
But again, his countenance, his accent, and his manner really suited
Yeah.
the character of Stilgar. And Everett McGill, who plays Stilgar in the Lynchian film, was excellent. And again, tough act to follow. But I thought Javier Bardem did a really good job. He actually looks visually more like the TV series Stilgar, which is really interesting as well. For me, I know what's going to happen, and it's really interesting to see what they're going to deal with, how they deal with Stilgar and the rest of the Fremen.
Yeah, see, I've got no clue, so I'm just going to wait for them to make this damn thing and for it to come out in 3 years' time or whenever.
Are we? It's going to be a while, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
hopefully the filming process for the next years will get easier, even if we're still, post-pandemic but distancing. The processes are now in place, aren't they? So it should get easier. But
Unless Villeneuve just kept everyone there for another 3-4 months and actually did part two.
No, I think it
No,
was
they haven't got the budget. They haven't got the
no.
budget for it.
I think again, if you could look at it, I think it cost 165 million to make. I think. Now, obviously, that doesn't actually. Bobby's going to fact check for me, but obviously that's not included in the marketing budget. But if it's cost 165 million to make, and it's made 150 million in its first few days.
Deadline Hollywood reported that
yeah.
a total box office gross of $300 million, the combined cost of production and marketing will make many happy from an image standpoint, even if break-even is far north of that. And today, so it's done as of 24th of October, which is yesterday.
Yep.
It's grossed a worldwide total of 220 million. So
It's only 2 or 3 days, so it's going to make its money.
yeah, so it should make its money and then some.
Yeah.
So it remains a bit. I think Bond is the 5th highest grossing film of 2021 so far.
These are the post-pandemic films, aren't they? Really?
Yeah.
That's what we need to call them, really.
So yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it's getting rave reviews. At the moment, it holds an 83% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I really want to know
Yeah.
on RT who didn't like it.
Yeah.
Weirdos.
I mean, there are a few people. I think some of the reviews have said that the world building is good, but not very much happens. And I would tend to disagree with that. I think the problem is there are two camps, Bobby. There's the camp of people who are, like me, who are very, very knowledgeable of the story, know what's going to happen and know what this build-up means. And those people who are completely new to the story. And I think that's the problem, is much like a lot of the new TV series coming out, is a lot of world building and setting things up. And I think some people just want action, want things to happen straight away. Straight away. And I think you've got to give it time. What I'm really excited about is
a spectacular but empty film. A single scene from Lynch's failed version, Kenneth Macmillan floating in the air and laughing wickedly, is more cinema than this entire movie.
Let's talk about the Baron Harco in this film. I thought he was such a brilliant alternative. So, Kenneth Macmillan plays the original Baron Harkonnen in the Lynch film, and he is very good in that. And manic, and you can see the insanity in him. Whereas the one in this film, played by Stellan Skarsgård, was much darker. He
More like a mafia boss.
Yeah, he came across a bit like Kingpin, wasn't he? Really,
Yeah.
But he came across a lot more intelligent, with a lot more kind of strategic, tactical knowledge of what's going on. He was much more imposing, much more, I think, much more frightening, and I think that really fits the role. I mean, in the novels, Baron Harkonnen was not a giggling idiot. What's really gratifying is to see how much the writers have really dug in and understood the story.
Yeah.
Because I think Villeneuve, he wrote the book when he was young. In fact, he read an early edition of Dune, which had a golden face on the front with these blue eyes, and he was drawn to the face and the blue eyes. So the story when he was a child, which is the face of the Fremen in the sand. So again, I am really hopeful for the next film. I mean, this first film, for me, was perfect. The only fault I can find in it was my seat in the cinema.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and see, on that basis alone, I wouldn't listen to any critics who've been negative of it, because here you've got someone who's seen the original film, 20, 30, 40 times, has loved it since he was a boy, has read the novel, has seen the TV series, is fully invested in this, who absolutely loved it and thought it was
I'm
great.
on board completely.
Yeah, and then you've got someone like me that I was not interested in this movie. I was not. The only thing that remotely interested me about it is that Denis Villeneuve was making it and directing it, and I'm a massive fan of his visual style.
Yeah.
But I was. If it had gone by in the cinema and I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't have been bothered. I was not online to try and pre-book tickets for it or anything, or watching for the. I didn't even realise it had come out last week. That's how little vested I was in this. But I've come out of it loving it, and I really, 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 really hope that they make part 2. I can't wait. So, anyone who's sat on the fence about whether to go see this or not,
see it,
based on what I've just told you,
Yeah.
get your arse in a cinema seat right now and just go see it.
Yep.
Don't worry about the pandemic. It's not going to last forever. But we respect your choice.
You're all there, Bobby.
Yes.
I'll say it again. Tell your friends to go and see it. Go and see it, because more bums on seats means that the sequel will be made. Not sequel, part 2.
Part 2.
It's a feast for the eyes.
Okay, as I was editing this podcast, a news flash came through from Alex, in fact. And here's some very, very good news. Literally at time of recording, Legendary, the studio behind Dune, have announced on Twitter that Dune Part 2 is a go with Warner Brothers, which is really good news. I had just received news from Legendary that we are officially moving forward with Dune Part 2, says director Denis Villeneuve. It was a dream of mine to adapt Frank Herbert's Dune, and I have the fans, the cast, the crew, Legendary and Warner Brothers to thank for supporting this dream. This is only the beginning. And they've also released a Dune Part 2 logo. If you follow the Legendary Twitter account, you can see a picture of it. Very exciting news, and I am very, very happy, as I'm sure Bobby will be as well when he sees this.